Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Wanted to share with you some information, basically highlighting one of the other benefits of being a veteran. And I wanted to share this with you more as a reminder, or maybe if you're new to the veteran sphere, recently discharged from the military and kind of navigating your way, this is something that you definitely want to keep in your line of sight. So let's jump into it. The headline here: veterans gain better access to home ownership. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. Helps to push this information out to all of our brothers and sisters so they are aware. I'll give you my 2 cents along the way as well and fill in any of the gaps just for the sake of transparency. I was a mortgage lender for about 12 years, primarily sales manager and management roles, so I do know a little bit, enough to be dangerous anyway, although it has been quite a while. So let's jump into it here. John Bell III, Executive Director of VA's Loan Guarantee Service, recently met with Veterans United Home Loans, a lender based in Columbia, Missouri, to share how it can help veterans overcome current challenges in the housing market. Bell's visit marked the start of a year-long engagement with industry stakeholders aimed at ensuring the VA home loan program remains the product of choice for veterans. He noted they have closed more than 500,000 VA home loans over the last 2 decades. A central point in Bell's address was the importance of continuous improvement through its modernization efforts, and he explained how VA is undergoing a technical transformation to harness data efficiently. The goal is to provide resources, certifications, and streamlined information for a smoother loan process. Bell also highlighted shift to ServiceNow as a customer service management application, achieving a 94% response rate within 48 hours, improving communication and efficiency. Education also emerged as a recurring theme, as Bell emphasized the need to dispel misconceptions about VA loans, particularly those dating back decades. So I'm going to pause there and give my 2 cents so far. Yes, there is an absolute misconception on VA home loans, and that they're difficult, that they require just massive amounts of additional paperwork, or there's more scrutiny on the home, they're harder to get funded, and all of that stuff. And that's not the case. I mean, maybe that used to be the case, but what happens is that the realtors who you will deal with when you go to purchase a home are going to have their own bias. And if they had one bad experience 15 years ago, or even better, they heard of a bad experience from somebody who had a bad experience 15 years ago on a VA loan, then they just assume all VA loans are horrible. Now, here's the more complicated piece, is that if you're working with a realtor, right, or an agent, a real estate agent, and you talk to them and they're all happy about your situation and your loan and everything seems fine, when you go to buy a house, if you're buying it from a different agent, so there's a listing agent and a buyer agent, the buyer's agent represents you and the listing agent represents the seller. If they're not the same person, if they are not the same, they can be, but if they're not the same person, now you have to convince the listing agent that everything's going to be fine with your VA loan. Now, one of the things that I've done in the past is I would find a house that I like, and I would make an offer directly to work with the listing agent. I would call the listing agent and say, hey, I'm interested in this house, and I would like to put in an offer. I am not represented by any realtor or agent, and I would like to go through you as a dual agent. Then I could have open communication and conversation with that agent, letting them know that my VA loan is no issue, and give them whatever reassurance they need, so then they can then relay that to the actual seller in hopes to get my offer accepted. Now, just for an example here, I bought a home with a VA loan, utilizing that same strategy, and the home was expensive, and this is a couple years ago, and it was landlocked, so I had to go through somebody else's property, right? So there's an easement for access, a dirt road that would go, so, and that's another issue, right? Dirt road, so I have dirt road, paved road to a dirt road that was not my dirt road that I had an easement on, through somebody else's property to my property. And it wasn't far. It was maybe a quarter mile or so of dirt road. And it was on 12 and a half acres. So for most people, and including this agent that I went through, they were concerned because I was doing a VA loan. I had no inspections done on the home except for the appraisal, and I think I did a pest inspection. Those two things. So I had those two things done. That was it. So no chimney inspection, no roof inspection, nothing. Only the pest inspection and the appraisal. So property was on 12 acres and dirt road access and landlocked, had easements to get to it. And then I also had other easements for other people that lived past me to allow them to drive through my property, right? So there was a lot of worry and stress on that, but I got all the answers I needed. I contacted the VA directly. I also got a letter from my congressional office because the VA is a federal, agency. Had my congressman his staff write a letter acknowledging the rules and regulations allowing this type of deal to move forward without any issues, and we made it happen, and we closed on time and had no issues. So I think that they bring up a good point about the misconceptions, and that you do have to put in a little bit of work to ease stresses. So just so people know. And currently, they also, if they don't talk about it here, recently, probably, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago or so, 4 years ago, somewhere around there, they lifted the loan limit on VA loans. This is really important to know because there used to be a cap. You could only buy up to a certain amount, regardless of how much money you made, right? So if you and your wife or you and your husband are making X number of dollars per year, there was a cap on how high you could go with your VA loan. So your loan would only go up to X. They lifted that, and there is no cap anymore, which means that you, as a veteran, if you're making good money, you can go buy, if you qualify, a $2 million house with a VA loan if you make the money to support it. Now, what's important here is that you could buy that house with $0 out of your pocket for down payment, no down payment. Now you still have closing costs. And remember, here's another important piece, because I don't know if they're going to mention it in here, is don't forget that if you have a service-connected disability rated by the VA, that you can have your VA funding fee waived. That is about 1%, or customarily it's always been 1%. So a 1% VA funding fee would be waived. So if your loan was $1 million, that's a $10,000 funding fee. So you would get that waived. Now, how can you circumvent that? If you're in the process and you're not service connected, or if you're going to buy a house but you're not service connected today, what you could do is you can file an intent to file with the VA today. File that intent to file today. Then, if you went and wrote a contract on a house and it got accepted, a week from now, you already have your intent to file in place. Now your contract's in place after that date of the intent to file. Then, let's say you close escrow. Okay, you're going to pay that funding fee, but you file your VA claim and you get awarded a service-connected condition, and it gets backdated to that intent to file date. Now, you can get that VA funding fee, at least from what I remember, refunded because your effective date is prior to your contract date for the house. So you effectively had your service-connected disability before you started that housing process. So don't forget that that is available. So let's move on. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I figured if you're watching this long, you're actually interested in home loan stuff. So one more piece, just because now I'm excited about it. When it comes to getting a loan, right, you have different options, right? So there's less options with VA loans, but still, do you want to get some sort of an adjustable rate? Maybe it's fixed for the first 3 years, 5 years, what have you, and then it turns into an adjustable. Or do you want a fixed rate, 30-year, 15-year, what have you? You'll have your interest rate, and you're going to have what they call points. Points, discount points, will lower your rate if you pay them. You could pay none, right? The way that I like to describe it is it's kind of like a schoolyard teeter-totter or seesaw, right? One kid's on one side, one's on the other, and it goes like this. So think of the interest rate on this side and think of the discount points on this side. Discount points represent a percentage of your loan amount. So if your loan amount is, say, $400,000, 1 point would be $4,000. So if you take that seesaw and you go like this and go equal, let's just call that 0 points at whatever the prevailing interest rate is. Now, if you want a lower interest rate, great. You can have a lower interest rate, but it's going to cost you points. Now, the higher you go on the point side, the lower the interest rate will go. Now, that's all great. And what you could do is you can actually calculate the cost, right? So my payment drops by this much. I save this much money per month times this many months. I will pay myself back the amount that it costs to pay the points. Or you can go the other way. You can actually create a rebate. You can take a higher interest rate and get negative points in some cases that will help you offset your closing costs. So let's say that you were able to, for example, get a negative 1 point. Well, now a $400,000 loan has a $4,000 credit back to your closing costs. The rule of thumb is the longer you plan on being in the home, not even being in the home, the longer you plan to keep the loan, the longer you plan on having this loan, mortgage, the more it makes sense to pay discount points to buy down your interest rate because you will recoup the money you paid for the points. So anyway, moving on. Let's see. The misconceptions, we talked about that, particularly those dating back decades. It goes on to a quote here. I appreciate the Veterans United dedication to being well informed about VA mortgages, providing friendly service to military homeowners, and contributing positively to communities across the country. Your efforts must continue to aim at making a genuine difference in veterans' lives daily, Bell said. With increased awareness and understanding, more veterans will be able to take advantage of the program. Bell continued, I want to underscore our commitment to creating a smoother, more efficient, and more welcoming environment for veterans seeking to utilize their benefits. For additional insights on how VA supports veterans homeownership through collaboration with industry leaders, please visit the VA Home Loans Lender page at benefits.va.gov/home loans/lenders. And that concludes this little article, which really didn't dive too deep into what I was hoping it would. So I'm glad that I added what I did in the event that mortgage is something on your mind now or in the future. So I hope that I gave you a couple nuggets out of my own head, and I appreciate your time. Thanks so much. I'd love to see your comments to at least know that I helped one person. All right. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.